Well, thank you, everybody. Welcome to our third, is it our third Moxie Works Hours Essential session? I think it is. Well, welcome. And as you can see on our opening slide, this is Moxie Works Essentials. Moxie Works Hours Essentials. And basically what we just wanted to make sure is that everybody has the foundation, the foundational knowledge of the Moxie Present, Moxie Impress tools that you all hopefully are using at this point. These sessions, just to make sure that everybody is aware, these are held bi-weekly and each session is unique. The title is the same when you register, Moxie Works Hours Essentials, but the content is going to be unique. Okay, so we just want to make sure it's easy for everybody to register, the same registration link. Please share those with your colleagues, people in the office. You could register one, two, many sessions at the same time, but right now we have 2 remaining sessions by the end of the year. So in a couple of weeks, I think it's that, is that the 2nd? And then the 16th of December. Okay, so we just want to make sure that all of you are aware of the upcoming sessions. And let's see, we're going to just quickly introduce our crew for today. My name is Alex Castro. I'm going to be your host today. I'm co-hosted with Amy Chareau. Say hello, Amy, if you would. Okay, Amy. And then also we have Brett. All right, thank you. Amy. And then also we have Brett Callthorpe. Brett, did you bark out a little bit?
My dogs will do that for me, but hello, everyone.
Excellent. And I'm not sure if Debbie or Dean's also on the line, but this is your Moxie Works engagement team. Okay, so we are here to provide support. So if you have a question in chat, please type that in. Okay, this session with these Moxie Works hours, our goal is to share knowledge with you on the platform. Okay, just a few housekeeping items. We are going to go through the content. We have lots of good information today during our Moxie Works magic portion of our call. And then at the end, we're going to have Q&A. Keep in mind that Q&A is not really for troubleshooting or any issues that you have, okay? Just want to make that clear because we do have a support mechanism. We want all of you to make sure that you follow, and that is the submit a ticket option, the button, submit a ticket on the support.moxieworks.com webpage. And I'm going to repeat that again so that everybody is accustomed to using that, because that is the best way to get support. You know, these calls, we want to make sure that we focus on the features, right? The strategies, the tips, best practice, things like that. Okay. So just want to make sure that if I can get everybody muted, I have to mute some people. If okay, very good. I just want to make sure that we minimize any background noise. Again, feel free to use chat for any questions that you have during the call. If you forget, just kind of take a little note on your notepad piece of paper that you may have, or type in chat. One of us, myself, Amy, Brett, will be happy to chime in and answer and field any of those questions that you have in chat, okay? Keep in mind that this session is being recorded. It's going to be sent to you, the recording link, the Zoom recording link,
Very
to
good.
everybody who has registered for this class, okay? So some of you have colleagues that, you know, maybe this is not the right time or the best time during a day where they can participate in a call like that. So this session is going to be recorded, as well as supporting documentation we're going to send you via email along with that recording link. Okay, so as long as you register for any future calls, you will receive the recording link and any ancillary documents that we may send, like a PDF, quick start guides, things like that. Okay, so here's our agenda for today. We're going to quickly talk about supporting your MoxieWorks journey. I think this is a huge part to make sure that everybody understands the support process for MoxieWorks. I know we talk about it every time we meet, but we want to make sure that you, your colleagues, everybody at your office understands how we go about supporting you. MoxieWorks magic, and let me make sure I can get everybody here. Hold on one second. Sorry, folks, for the background noise. Yeah, if you would be so kind, if you can mute yourself, that'd be fantastic. That way we can minimize any background noise. We have MoxieWorks magic. That is where Brett is going to go deep dive into, I think today's topic is CMAs, comparative market analyses. He's got a lot of cool things that you may not know about in terms of the Moxie Present CMA feature. And then we're going to go into Q&A. Again, this is where ask the questions about strategies, best practices, tips, how do you go about doing things? What's the best process to do? Okay, not really reserved for your, maybe support type issues or problems that you may have seen or being faced with right now. That is what we're going to talk about in terms of support, because that we have a better process for you on that. So why should it matter? Why should you attend these MoxieWorks hours? Number one, first, who should attend? I think everybody who is either experienced or maybe not so much experience with Moxie Present or Moxie Impress or any of the MoxieWorks platform should attend. Why? Because we often found in the past that if you are experienced and you think you know it, and I use it every day type of thing, you will still capture and some of these golden nuggets that you can walk away with from these calls that will sometimes make a big difference. Okay, what are MoxieWorks hours? Bi-weekly, 60 minutes deep dive into certain things that you may not have seen during your launch training. You may not find at the support.moxieworks support center. Okay, how do you join? Simple. We have a one single Zoom registration link for all classes. We have 2 upcoming in December. We're going to announce our schedule for 2022 shortly, but until then, we have 2 more for the end of the year. How often? I said bi-weekly, so every other week. Why should I attend? Again, you're going to capture, I'm sure today you're going to have at least a handful of things like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Okay, so why should it matter? Right, to provide you with information and recommendations on how to use MoxieWorks, how to leverage the technology. In future MoxieWorks hours, we're going to have experts in terms of people who may have used MoxieWorks, right, in their particular practice, or maybe experts such as Brett Calthorpe, who's on our call today. He's our subject matter expert, our SME, who's going to share a lot about Moxie Present in today's call. And again, to ensure that you're well educated on the tools and resources, okay? Because the reason why we talk about these support resources is because sometimes, right, if it's that one thing that, you get kind of frustrated or disgruntled about, it's like, oh, I'm not going to use it. It doesn't work. We want to prevent that from happening. We know that the MoxieWorks platform, as we mentioned in the past, 10-year product, right? It's proven, it's used by thousands of agents, and we just want to make sure your experience is as positive as it can be, okay? So here is support. Support.moxieworks.com. If you haven't memorized this or put this as a favorite, you want to do so now. And I know it's repetitive for a lot of you, but I just want to make sure. Support.moxieworks.com. This is where you hit submit a ticket, upper right-hand side, and that's where you want to log your issues, problems, something's not working. You don't have to decide, well, is it a Realogy thing? Is it a Dash thing? Is it a MoxieWorks thing? One source, right? Should I talk to my brand ambassador, my growth consultant about this? Go here, log the call, submit a ticket, grab that ticket number, document it so that should you need to escalate, we have that ticket number. Makes sense? Hopefully everybody has that. And then of course, in product assistance, you have that chat functionality with that auto bot, right? It's the very bottom. I think it's on the right-hand side. It's like a little red message thing that pops up, and you can just type in and try to stump the Autobot with a question, okay? And then also you can chat via a live representative. You can click help button and then get in touch, okay? Product information, same website, same support center, support.moxieworks.com, a bunch of case studies, a lot of pro tips, hot tip articles, videos, okay? PDF files that you could download, things like that. All right, so before we continue, I just want a quick poll. If I can't. Is Debbie on the call? Debbie's not on the call. Okay, so just real quick. Everybody hopefully has used Moxie Present, Moxie Impress. We know these as the marketing pack.
I just launched it for you. I did it for you, Alex.
Oops.
It is opened.
Yep, sorry, Alex, I couldn't unmute fast enough. It's Debbie. It's definitely on the screen, opening poll.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm not sure because I tested it out again and I could see it. Okay, so opening poll. How many listing presentations have you created so far? First question, we want to make sure we understand our audience today. Have you created any? 1, 2, and we know what our results were last time. So hopefully the numbers are a little bit better, headed into the right direction, right? And then that second question, we want to make sure we, again, understand our audience. What best describes your role? Which ones? And that should be a multiple choice answer where you can select multiple jobs or roles at your company. How are we doing there, Debbie?
Interesting enough that Zoom is being so funny today, but people cannot see the poll even though it's launched.
Oh,
I'm
no.
I'm going to try to relaunch it for you. Give me 1 second. Maybe, maybe not.
That's so weird.
It is
Sorry,
weird.
Sorry, folks. Well, worst case, if you can go and chat, we ask that you just type in how many presentations have you created using Moxie Present, right? Buyer tours, listing presentations, CMAs, single page flyers, things of that nature. Can you share how many? If it's zero,
Alex,
it's zero.
Alex, it's working now, just an
It's
FYI.
working.
Yay.
It's working.
Baby.
Yay.
Yep.
Yeah, the reason why our co-hosts, Debbie, Amy, have to chime in because I can't see anything on my end for some weird reason. I can see my slides. I can't see the poll. So hopefully everybody take a quick minute. We don't want to spend too much time on this. Going once, going twice. Hopefully everybody has a chance also to select which of
Give them
the
a
following.
minute, Alex, give them a minute. It's
Yep.
only, they have another 15, 20 seconds. So just
Very
to be
good.
fair.
Very good. We want, yeah.
I will let you know when we're there. I'll let you know when we're at that point. Okay.
I have no control over it. So I'm leave it up to you guys to end that poll.
Yeah, Alex, like to get up to about 75%. We're at 65, 68. If we could get a couple more people to vote, that would be fantastic. We are getting there.
A lot better than if we use the chat.
Yep. And I'm looking for one more, and then we will end it. One more, and we are there. Deb, do you want to close it?
Yeah, and then if you can share the results, that'd be fantastic. And also if you can take a quick snapshot of that, Debbie or Amy or Brett, if you can just take a quick shot of that with your phone or maybe a screenshot on your laptop or desktop computer, that helps. Yeah, the reason for the poll, as you well know, we want to make sure that we understand as best we can our audience, right? Who's participating on these calls so that we can kind of tailor accordingly. We're going to have a quick poll at the end. Yes.
So let's go through it if you don't mind. I apologize. I keep on.
Of course.
Really good news. 45% have, well, put it this way, 45% have not, but that means they have a great opportunity after today to start doing them.
Okay.
25%, a quarter, have done between 1 and 4. About 20%, 18% have done at least 5 to 10. And we have our beautiful outliers, 5%, who are done 10 or more. And then we had someone said they haven't had training. So today they're going to get that. And then the breakout of the people in the room, which is great. We have 45% admins today, and we have about 30%, 36% agents, where we're starting to get a really good mix of people attending these. So, and then of course, all the admins break down, Alex, to trainers, sales managers, marketing department, IT, product champions, and recruiters, brokers. So there you go, 45%, 36%.
Great,
Yeah.
great summary of the data there, Amy. Really appreciate that. And thank you all for participating. We are going to kind of huddle up with this information and kind of tailor our future sessions accordingly. And thank you all for participating. Just a quick synopsis. I should have asked who is basically new to the platform. I think we have some people that haven't received any training on the call, as you mentioned, Amy. Moxie Present, Moxie Impress. Hopefully everybody on the call has these two particular products of the entire Moxie suite already implemented or launched at your office, right? We call those two the marketing pack, right? Moxie Present, right? For real estate presentation. It's your real estate presentation builder. Moxie Impress for agents to help when you receive that listing, the automatic generation of deliverables, links, printed or soft copy type documentation or graphics and postcards and flyers, things like that. Moxie Impress. What's coming in the future? Most of you on this call, you're looking at now 2022, okay, for the productivity pack. Moxie websites, Moxie Engage, Moxie Talent. Most of you on this call probably are looking at, again, next year when you're going to see this, which means I think the good side is that we got a lot of time to get better and sharpen our knowledge on Moxie Present, Moxie Impress. We know that Moxie websites, we're going to use those for our personal website for you, the agent, or if you're part of a team, of course, for your office, you have Moxie websites. Moxie Engage. A lot of you are waiting for this, that CRM, that customer relationship management tool that you're going to use to manage your sphere of influence, your leads, all the people that you do business with. Moxie Talent, for those of you on the call who are recruiters and or focused on agent retention, we have Moxie Talent. So that's productivity pack. That's going to be right around the corner at the beginning of the year. Moxie Works Magic. This week, we're going to talk and take a deep dive with Brett into CMAs, comparative market analysis, and hopefully this is a document which all of you on this call probably use to show your prospective sellers, right, in order to get that first meeting with them, right? That that you want to use kind of like in a job situation, that resume, so that you get that interview, that CMA to get you that interview or that appointment with that prospective seller with the ultimate goal of listing their property, right? So we're going to talk about different parts of creating the Moxie Works or Moxie Present CMA, which includes personalization, filtering comparables, choosing comparables, making price adjustments, removing listings, net proceeds, and your agent profile. Okay, so a number of things. Some of you are saying, oh, wow, that's a lot of stuff. Keep in mind, this is being recorded, so you'll be getting a Zoom link with all of what Brett is about to show you. So Brett, would you like to take it away?
Sure. Thanks so much, Alex. And since I will be talking about this, Amy has shifted to looking for the chat and taking care of questions and answers. And again, I appreciate you mentioning, Alex, this isn't designed to be a tech support. Although if you are having product questions, how do you do this or that? We're certainly happy to try to help that. We have a section at the end. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about how to create a CMA in Moxie Present. And if you have used the MLS to create a CMA, it should seem very familiar. It is I think, a fairly low learning curve in terms of how to create this in Moxie Present. And you get that same on-demand live MLS data, but a lot of other features. So if you want to go ahead and move next slide, please. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk you through the process. So what you've got here is a screenshot. You can see this agent, Amy Cheroux, it looks like. I hear she's very good. We're going to create a seller presentation. So what you would do is you would create the bright blue button at the top right that says create new. And then we have our various presentation types that are listed here. And you can see we've got buyer tour, a buyer presentation. We have a seller presentation, a buyer tour presentation, and then non-listing, which is what you can create pretty much anything else with. So we're going to do seller on this one. So we see that selected. Let's move on to the next slide, please. Now, once we've picked our seller template or our seller presentation, you should have a variety of templates. These are templates that you can create yourself. The brokerage assets, could be brand assets. You can select based on what you're looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and skip past this, but this would be where you would pick your template. So we're just going with our standard default for this example. Next slide, please. And you can see here, we can put in our prepared for, that's Sally seller in this instance, and then listing source. This is good for if you have multiple MLS, you will pick which MLS you want to use, which will have the data to pull in for a CMA. You can't use multiples. So you're going to pick the MLS that makes the most sense for you to use. And then you can see presentation design. We have classic and luxury. We're just going to use classic here. And once we've selected these things, we're going to hit create. Now, once we start the process, you can see here, we're on the first section. We're under home, you can see subject property. So for the subject property, you have two options. You can either use an MLS number, which will automatically pull in the data and the photos from the MLS. Or if you don't have that, maybe it's an off-market listing or et cetera, then you can go in and you would hand enter the information down below. So, and Amy, I see your question. If you're having MLS issues, it may not be showing there right now. So again, folks, if you are having MLS issues, make sure you've submitted a ticket to support.moxieworks.com. I know that Realogy and MoxieWorks are working together to solve those. So as we continue here, you can see this manual screen. You can put in the data. Another nice thing that you can actually do for any of the presentations is you can upload a new image. So just because it pulls in the default main photos from that listing, let's say you're doing a buyer tour. This is where oftentimes I would like to pick a picture that's maybe, I used to live in Frisco. So I had like Frisco, Texas, and like a beautiful sign there. So it doesn't have to be a house. So for this picture, if you're dealing with a seller that wants to go, you can actually put in a custom graphic to even personalize the experience even more. Let's go ahead and head on to the next slide.
Just real quick, Brett, I just want to point out something real quick for everybody. If you notice on the bottom right-hand side, you see the red oval? Help, that's your Autobot. So if you need help, it's on every screen. Okay, so you can click on that, up pops a message dialog box, and then you can start typing in. Okay, so you just want to make sure.
Point. Thank you, Alex.
Just want to make sure
every time you hit that,
knows.
it literally messages me. No, I'm just kidding. No, we have live support and we have on-page support as well. So,
excellent.
Hey, Brett, real quick,
Yes.
can you just tell them the difference, what happens, whether if they put the MLS number in or they manually enter it?
Sure.
Because there does, what happens
yeah, no
to the
problem.
data?
Yep. So again, if you click in the MLS where it says copy from MLS number, if you put it in there and then hit copy, now obviously you're going to have the MLS number that corresponds with the MLS that you're using. But once you put that in there and hit copy, it will actually fill out the salient information below. So you'll see all that come through. Sometimes it doesn't pull everything. It depends on your MLS. So you can always go in and add more information, but that is how that feature works. Otherwise, everything you see, location, et cetera, all that would be blank. And then it would be up to you to go in and enter in all that information.
And then a couple of questions, Brett, if you don't mind. Maybe some
Sure.
people are wondering on the call. What is the 11 in that black square and the 0 in the other black square for listings and pages? What does that mean? I mean,
Sure. So at this point, since we're just starting the CMA, we haven't pulled any listings yet. That's because we're going to go to search next. So that means that as of right now, there are 0 listings that are part of this CMA presentation. Pages, that's how many page numbers or how many pages are part of the presentation. So when you create a seller presentation, it's going to have your default pages in there. For Amy's default or my default, actually, we've moved on to my screen here. I have 11 pages in my default. And so that's what those pages or that's what those numbers correspond to.
Hey, Alex, just so you know, we'll be going through every step, and that's why we have the red boxes. So it's as he goes through, he will answer all of those questions. So it's good for him to keep on going with the flow if we can. That would be great. Cool.
Perfect.
Thanks.
All right, well, let's move on. Thank you. So you can see here, we've gone down below here, and you can see a couple different things. Number one, the remarks. So you can actually edit, as we've mentioned before, you can actually edit the remarks of any listing that you pull into these presentations. This being an older listing, you can see the remarks that were corresponding with that MLS number that you typed in. This we see agents use a lot when they'll, perhaps there's an expired listing that they're going to try to get the listing on. They'll go ahead and pull in the old listings. They'll keep the old agent remarks in there. And then before that, they'll say, hi, Amy, below you'll find what the previous agent wrote about it. I think we really need to mention X, Y, and Z. We can discuss this at the appointment, et cetera. So, and then let's see here. For listing, for the price and sale, you can see that there's a listing number, the current status, list price, sold price, days on market, date sold. So let's go ahead and continue, please. All right, so our next step. So now we don't have listings, we have our subject property. So let's find some more listings. So at this point, we want to search. We can search for active, pendings, and sold. So when you first put in that property, you will see that quite a few listings show up there, right? And it's basically a default of everything that's around that piece of property, which is why you have that beautiful maze of dots to the right. So, you know, we know that the C in CMA is very important. You know, how comparable are these properties to what we're looking at? So when we go to look for the listings, if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide, it's always a good idea to use some filters and get some things in there. So you can see here where we've gone through and pulled a more succinct list of listings or listings here. You can see we've got active properties there. You can actually sort on status if you see that under filters, which looks like what we've done here. And let's go ahead and move on to the next slide.
Hey, Brett, a question. Yeah. Did I ask you the questions when we're on the things, or do you want to hold everything to the end?
Probably best to get them at the end, unless it's directly related to something I just talked about on here.
Can I just ask one quick one?
Sure, yeah, of course.
I will hold everything else to the end. Thank you. For property features, it was 2 slides back. Can they be adjusted at the broker level? They live in the desert, so waterfront is not really applicable to our market. I think we need to just level set on that.
Yeah, I think we talk about it a little bit later, but yeah, when you pick your properties, there's one of the views that shows all the different properties that kind of shows all the salient facts to them, and you can actually edit which ones show. So for example, you know, if you're running a brokerage in Florida, chances are you don't have a basement. So where it would say basement, none, you could actually edit that. So we'll talk about that a little bit as we go on forward.
And I'll hold everything else. There's other great questions here. I'll hold the rest of them, but I thought that was important, and I'll be quiet until the end. Bug me at the end.
No, you guys are fine. I have ADD, so I can handle it all. You know that. So here we're in our filters tab. And so you can see we've gone in here and we've put in some filters to really try to narrow down the view of what's out there. So for example, we've got some square footage criteria in here. We've got some acreage criteria in here. You can see over on the left under other, you can select what you want in there. Maybe you don't want to have canceled listings, or maybe you don't want to show contingent listings, whatever it may be. Listing status, you can select by how long they've been active. So it's actually fairly robust. And this is just single family, but you can see that we have a variety of different filters for if you have condos, townhouses, whatever it may be. So this will help you to really drill down and try to get those subject properties that are truly comparable to the subject. So let's go ahead and move forward here. All right, so now we've chosen our comp. So the way you do that is pretty simple. When you have the giant list, you can go through and you just press the button of the picture, and that will select that. And you can see you've got those check marks. So we're going through here and we are selecting which properties we want to show up in this report. Let's go ahead and go forward. Boom. Now we have our solds. And again, we can do a sort of date sold here. Obviously, we want to pick properties that have sold most recently. So you can see where we've done that here too, because we've already got our active selected. Well, we want to make sure we get the solds selected that makes sense. So, and again, we've got those filters in place as well. Let's go ahead and go forward. All right, and as we talked a little bit about last time, you can make adjustments. So once we've figured out, you can see we've taken our list to 8 actives, 4 pendings, and 5 solds. That's showing up at the top there in the green, yellow, and red. Well, sometimes we know, especially in these crazy times with the crazy markets, that we need to make adjustments on price. So you can see here for Montezuma Way, we are looking at that property. It's got 3 bathrooms instead of 2, which our subject does. Slightly bigger square footage. So all you would do is, again, hit that add adjustment button and click on to the next. And again, we've got an extra bathroom, so we're going to make an adjustment for that and hit save. Go ahead. And you can see now that our adjustment's showing. We've done another one down below. So again, this is even further making sure that the data that you're going to present, that you're going to use for this report, is as accurate as it can be. And you can see over on that right, like we talked about last time, that listing summary. And again, all of that recalculates once you've made adjustments. But let's go ahead and go forward then. Next slide. All right, so the next let's go back to the other slide just real quick. I want to point out, oh wait, there they are. Okay, go ahead and hit forward. Sorry. It was on the next one. You can see we've got our subject property, which we started at. We've done our search. We've selected our listing. So now the next area is estimate. Now you can see once we've gone there, the pricing stats box, these prices are automatically calculated based on the listings that we've selected. So you can see that it's figured the price 2 different ways. Number 1 is just the average price of our sold comps. And number 2, we've done pricing based on square footage. Based on that, it will generate an estimated market value price. You can come in at this point and either create your own price in there and add remarks as to why you think it would be, or you can create a range. I usually suggest create a range if you've never been in the house before. You know, I know that our friends at Zillow get a lot of hard time about his estimate, saying, well, they've never been in the house. They don't know how you know, what it looks like or what it smells like, and they can't smell the cat, et cetera. Well, if you walk in with a piece of paper that says we should sell it at this, and you've never been in the house, you're kind of doing the same thing. So we definitely I like to have the range in there. So if you click range, create range, and hit continue, you have the ability, go ahead to the next slide, please. You have that ability that you can either, again, hand type in what you want your range to be, or you can put a percent in there and hit calculate, and the Moxie present will calculate that forward for you. So let's go ahead and move forward. You can see here's our adjusted range. We've got 365 to 395. And again, you have a place to enter in remarks. And again, I always suggest when you're going into that first time meeting with that person, you can put in the remarks saying, hey, we've picked this range based on X, Y, and Z. However, looking forward to touring your beautiful home so that we can adjust this number accordingly. Okay, let's go on to the next. So now we have gone through our search, we've picked our listings, we've done the estimate. So now we're at our pages. And so what you can see here is our pages. And the first one is the subject property, which it is brought up. You see it's got those old agent remarks in there. But you can see the button over here for side-by-side comparisons. We've got that selected as one of the pages. And you can see remove. So you have the opportunity to add or remove pages from this as you see fit. The present Moxie Present will put in what it considers just the defaults for that. But then you can add and remove. Let's say that page doesn't make any sense for me, or I'd rather use something different. You have that ability. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So listing location map. This is where we're going to show all the properties. And we did this because, sometimes things slip past that you go, oh, well, everything looks fine when it's on a list. But when you look on a map, it's different. And you can see here that we've got a pending property south of Sam Rayburn Tollway in Texas. And it's all things considered, knowing the area, it's really not comparable property. That's very much a different area, north and south of that tollway. So let's decide, okay, at this point, we're going to remove that. On to the next slide. So all we would do is at the top, click back on listings, and then we pull up that list of listings, and then we can find the property that we want to remove. Next slide. And you can see that's right there. All you got to do is hit that lovely red button and it will delete it or remove it from your presentation. On to the next. Are you sure you want to do it? Yes, I'm positive. So we hit remove. And now once we've done that, it not only removes that property, but it will recalculate any calculations that are part of the presentation automatically. And again, this is something I love the ability that you can actually do this on your phone quickly and easily. So while you're there with somebody, with that client, you can add or remove properties on the fly, and it's done. And it automatically recalcs and you can continue the conversation. So now here we're on a side-by-side comparison slide. And this is what I was talking about earlier, where we may have things that just aren't applicable to our market. So when you take a look and see all these different rows here, you actually have the ability to edit which rows show up. So let's go ahead and go on to the next slide. So we can go under the side-by-side comparisons, and you can literally scroll through every single item, every single row that's in there, and either check the box on or off for if it's applicable. So again, in this one, you can see Texas. None of those properties have basements in that part of Frisco. So we unselect basement, and that will get rid of that. And so I like that because you can give you a slightly more concise report that really is, I suppose, better to educate your client on what the true differentiators are that you want to look like. And otherwise, if you come at them and there's just a ton of rows, sometimes you can kind of get glossed over, et cetera. So let's go ahead and move forward there. So the next page we're going to talk about is status comparisons. This does a real nice job of basically just grouping your actives, your pendings, and your solds. And it shows our just really the most salient facts are, which is bedroom, bath, square foot, price per square foot, list price. And then if it's a sold, it will show the sold prices as well, as you can see on the right side of the slide with the 410, 410. 400, et cetera, which is nice because it will show you not only the sales price, but it shows you what it was listed at when it sold for that price. Let's go ahead and move forward. Alrighty, I covered that on the last one because I saw it peaking. Alrighty, so our next one is listing averages. So both the listing averages slide, yes, you can, Brandy, and I'll talk about that at the end of the presentation in terms of personalizations. So your listing averages slides, both that slide, the price and days on market slide, the price and size slide, all three of those, you have the ability to come in and have it display for all of the properties or just actives, just pendings and sold. So it's interactive. It doesn't actually delete the data. If you just say, oh, I just want active pinning sold always shows, but you have the ability to kind of set what the default is that shows right there. And this is the great way to, again, walk people through the pricing, walk people through what's going on in the market, and really show that local expertise. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide there. Here we're on our price and size. You can see the subject there with the nice blue star. And then you have the opportunity, if you want to show a trend line, you can. If it backs up what you're trying to say, otherwise you can delete it. You can see all of our dots are there corresponding with the square footage and price.
Hey, Brett, just real quick.
Yeah.
Just to answer that question, we will be showing, I don't know if we can do it on the slide deck, but you can literally take the pages out, the ones you do and you don't, because these may not all be relevant in your market, or you don't like to do all of this on your CMA. So that's the beauty of it, and you will show it. But I did want to just point that out. So thank you.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and move on to the next slide there. All right, so pricing analysis. So again, we see what our approximate market value is there that we had selected before. We've got our pricing stats that show up. Now, every time somebody wants to view this presentation, obviously if you've printed it, it's printed. But if usually you will send out these presentations digitally, and they will be sent by a link. Every time somebody clicks that link, it will automatically bring in the new data, the up-to-date data from the MLS. As I mentioned, I believe last week, the approximate market value, whether it's a range or whether it's an individual price, this will not recalculate. And so make sure to tell them that. Say, look, you can pull up this presentation a month from now. Everything else will change, but this approximate market value won't, because that's where I, as the agent, have said, I'm wading in, and that's where I feel like this is what your price should be or could be. So we don't want that recalculating on you, and have somebody email you 2 weeks, 3 weeks later and say, oh, well, now it shows it's at 415. Why did it recalculate? We don't do that. So let's go ahead and move on to the net proceeds. And this is one of my favorite parts of being able to use Moxie Present. So you can do as many net sheets as you want. So you can see here, we've got a net proceeds updated. Now, going into this meeting, what do we actually know about the property? Hopefully, maybe we know what their mortgage payoffs are. Maybe we don't. We've got our standard listing fees, but as we all know, there's lots of different factors in terms of our net sheet. So what I usually suggest is put everything you know and have it titled net proceeds pre-consultation. And then you can easily, after gathering more information, you can take that one and create a copy of it very simply, and then add new information as we learn it. And so that way, not only will you have the pre-consult in there, after you've created a new one, then when that person looks at it, they'll say, okay, well, this is what he walked in saying, but this, after we sat down and talked, et cetera, this is actually what my kind of final net sheet looks like before we go to list the property. So I think that's a really nice feature. And again, allows you to have that conversation about pricing and that conversation about what it takes to get a property sold. Let's go ahead and go on to the next slide. So, so again, you can see here, we've got our net proceeds updated. Go ahead and go on to the next. So where do we find that? You can see under that estimate tab, of course. So here's an example of my net proceeds before the meeting, where literally all I know is what our standard listing fee would be, which is 3% on either side. So you can then, if you wanted to, you would click the button that says copy, and you can create a new copy, rename it, and then add in more information. On to the next slide. Right there, you can see where you hit copy. Go ahead on to the next. And that's how that works. And then finally, you have your agent profile. This is just literally pulling it from your agent profile. And so that in this situation are the defaults that come in there. But as we know, default is a starting point, et cetera. Go ahead and go on to the next slide here.
You don't want to do save as template, just check test on that real quick.
Yeah, I think isn't that the next slide?
I don't know. Let's see.
No, we don't. It's just a Q&A.
Oh, we didn't add it. Okay, yeah, we made some edits at the end. So yeah, so that's what a couple things I was going to say for the end. So number one, if you're the admin, I typically advise very early in the process for you to come in and create the, 123 Realty listing presentation, where you come in and you collect what you feel like the subject property should, or pardon me, what pages should be included. So you can add and remove. And this includes both the MoxieWorks pages, but also pages, for example, if you have brand assets that you want to have included. Let's say you've created some information about local charity initiatives that you work on, whatever your quote unquote standard listing package for one of your agents looks like. I suggest as the admin, you come in and build it. And then once you've built it, and that includes things like side-by-side comparisons, et cetera, then you can click save as a template. Once you've saved it as a template, you can save it as the 123 Realty listing presentation. And then once you've created that template, you can then share it with the rest of the agents in the office. Anytime you go to share templates, you actually have the ability to share to as large or as small of a subset of your agents as you want. If you want to share it with 5 agents, you can share it to 5 agents. If you want to share it to 20 agents, you can share it to 20 agents or all of them. It does not matter. So, and I appreciate, Kendall, you putting in that note. I always like to have something to leave behind. I agree with you on that. And a good point now, depending on your MLS and the number of photos that are allowed, you can go and limit the number of photos to make sure that when you go to print that presentation, it comes through that way. Which again, when you're creating a presentation at any time where you see view at the top, right in the top middle, you can view the presentation in both the digital mode, but you can also preview it as a PDF. So I always suggest that while you're in the process of creating it, once you've got it to a point you feel like it's in pretty good shape, always make sure to go up there and view it as a PDF just to see if there's any changes that we need to make it look a little bit better when we do go to a PDF option.
So everybody, just to let you know, we're going to be doing a video of this and sending it out, but we're going to have the slide version, but we're also going to go live. And we're going to give you the slides if you guys want to present it at your offices. But the video that we're going to do will also add the part about the view and the send. And if you don't like to present and you would like to have this in your office to use, we're going to have these all hosted on your universities. And that's going to be happening within the next month or so. So we're testing out these pieces, but I'm going to let you tie it up, Brett. And then I would love to do some questions in the Q&A with you. I want to ask you some specific questions on content that you think would be relevant. So Brett, back to you. And then I'm going to ask you to help me all in just a little bit.
Okay, well, I think we can go from this slide on to the next. And, I did mention the ability to create your own version. I think that's an important part of that. The personalization aspect is huge. And so what we found works best is where the brokerage has created their standard buyer tour, buyer presentation, seller presentation. They've shared it with the agents, and then the agents can take that and build from it and create their own standard for my agent or for me as a team, et cetera. So the personalization aspect is really, really nice. And another thing that I really love about being able to use the templates is, let's say you've created, a market update sheet that you think you want to put in there that might have statistics, et cetera. Then you go on and you decide, I'm going to change that sheet to something else. Well, if you change the page, that's the template, then automatically everybody has the new information. You don't have to tell them, hey, go to this place and download it from Dropbox or whatever it may be. So it allows you to stay pretty consistent when it comes on things with your branding and company branding. So that's about all I wanted to cover before we get into Q&A. So Amy, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Alex, go to the slide without the breakout rooms for me, please, because we don't have time. Normally we do 15-minute bites. And also to let you know, we are getting people lined up that we're going to interview who are coming up with really cool aspects. We're going to interview some of the people at MoxiWorks, but we're also getting people who are super users that we're going to let them tell you how they're leveraging MoxiWorks Present and eventually Engage or CRM in their business. So you can literally take their ideas and bring it into your own business. We're still a little early in that, so stay tuned with us as we rock and roll. So the last thing is we have about, I don't know, 8 minutes left. What I'd love for you to do in the chat box is make sure you're on everyone. Go into the chat box and make sure it's on everyone in the minute. And I want you to think for a minute, if I could just hear from all of you and just get one idea, we would love that. First question, what are things you're enjoying? Now, I know some of you are new, so this may not help you, but listen and watch in the chat box. What are some of the things you're enjoying about the Present product, MoxieWorks Present? Are you using these in the web version? Are you printing them out? How are you using them? Are you using them as pre-listing packages? Are you doing buyer tours? Are you doing CMAs? Love to hear in the chat box what you guys are doing. And as I'm waiting for your questions, and as Alex said so nicely earlier, if you have any other specific questions, we're here to answer, but we'd just love to get a little background. So let me hear if anybody is sharing. I think we're starting to get some input here. Owner equity checkups. That's a mouthful, Kendall. Can you tell me a little bit more? Thank you. Meredith, planning on using for pre-listing presentations. Meredith, they are phenomenal for pre-listing presentations. Whether you're going to print and send as a PDF, whether you're going to print and bind and leave at the home, or you're going to do the web version, all are amazing. Thank you for that. Anybody else who's used it? We had about half of you have been using it. It'll be good for other people to hear. Okay, thanks, Kendall. Kendall's is saying, telling past clients what the value of her home is on an annual basis. Fantastic. You know, Kendall, I've